Ever get that feeling like you're just spreading yourself way too thin, giving energy to things that maybe don't really deserve it, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's kind of what we're going to get into today.
Right.
This whole idea of like being more selective about what we care about.
I like that.
It's like almost like you have a certain amount of care coins each day.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
And you can spend them, but once they're gone, that's it.
Yeah, I think so often we sort of act like our attention and our energy are just limitless.
Yeah.
But they're not. And so we end up, feeling drained, burnt out because we haven't been careful
Totally.
about where we're investing our emotional resources.
Yeah, it's like that mindless scrolling on social media for hours,
Oh, yeah.
getting all riled up about stuff that doesn't even really impact our lives.
Yeah.
We just end up like wasting those precious care coins
Right.
on these distractions.
I know. And instead, imagine if you were just really consciously choosing to spend them on
Right.
the things that really matter. Your health, your relationships, your passions.
Totally.
It's that kind of shifting from that reactive caring
Yeah.
to a more proactive way.
Okay, so how do we like break free from that reactive cycle?
Yeah.
I feel like we're so conditioned to like care about everything,
Yeah.
to be plugged in all the time.
Well, I think, it takes practice.
Yeah.
But I think one of the keys is challenging this idea that we always need to be positive
Right.
and we need to avoid discomfort.
Oh, interesting.
What if those so-called, negative experiences are actually opportunities to grow?
So you're saying like things like setbacks and failures can actually be like good for us?
Yeah.
That seems kind of counterintuitive.
Well, think about it this way. You go to the gym, you lift weights to build muscle, right?
Yeah.
And those weights create resistance.
Uh-huh.
And it's that resistance that actually makes you stronger.
I see.
And so I think about setbacks and challenges kind of like weights. Right.
For our minds and our spirits. They force us to adapt and learn, and they make us more resilient.
So instead of like viewing a failure as like the sign of defeat,
Yeah.
we can see it as like valuable data. It tells us, okay, well, this didn't work.
Yes.
So now I can adjust and try something different.
You got it. And that's how this ties back into not caring.
Okay.
Not in a way that's like heartless,
Right.
but in a way that allows you to detach from the outcome a little bit.
Yeah.
You can strive for excellence without tying your entire self-worth
Right.
to every single success or failure.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. This brings to mind another thing I've been thinking about, which is, and this might sound a little harsh, but like, you are not special.
I love that idea.
And I know it can sound harsh, but I find it oddly liberating.
It is. It is,
I think it takes the pressure off.
Yeah, and I think, it challenges this pressure that we all have to be exceptional.
Mm-hmm. To constantly stand up. I mean, statistically speaking, most of us aren't going to be world famous athletes.
Right.
Right. We're not all going to be billionaires.
Not like we're all supposed to be unicorns, but most of us are just like really great horses.
Exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. And I think there's a profound freedom in that.
Yeah.
It allows us to shift our focus from like external validation to just personal growth.
Totally.
We can find fulfillment in those everyday joys, genuine connections, rather than chasing some kind of like unattainable ideal.
Yeah, it's not about giving up on our dreams.
No, not at all.
It's about like redefining what success actually looks like for us.
Exactly.
It's about being the best versions of ourselves.
Yeah.
Not, chasing some external measure,
Right. Right.
of worth.
And it's about understanding that true happiness doesn't come from that external validation.
Right.
It comes from living in alignment with our values.
Speaking of values, that seems like a good segue into taking responsibility, which I think is something that people often misunderstand. It's not about, blaming ourselves for everything, is it?
No, not at all.
Right.
You're totally right.
Right.
It's about recognizing the distinction between fault and responsibility.
Okay.
Think about it this way. If someone rear-ends your car,
Okay, yeah.
it's not your fault,
Right.
but it is your responsibility to deal with the aftermath, right? The insurance, repairs, all that stuff.
So it's like taking responsibility is about acknowledging that even when things happen that are out of our control, we still have the power to choose how we respond.
Yes.
To that situation.
It's about taking ownership of your choices and your actions and recognizing that you have agency,
Yeah.
in how you move forward.
Right, even when it's tough.
Even when it's really, really hard.
And that sense of agency is incredibly empowering, right?
It is.
Because it allows us to, shape our lives.
Yeah.
Rather than feeling like a victim of circumstance.
It's a crucial shift from that mindset of helplessness to one of empowerment.
Right. It's like, I'm not just going to sit here and let this happen to me.
Right.
I'm going to take control.
Exactly.
Of the situation. And it also, I guess, ties back into not caring about the things we can't control.
Yes.
And focusing our energy on what we can.
Exactly. And it allows us to be more intentional.
Right.
With how we're spending those care coins,
Yeah.
We can invest them in things that align with our values.
Totally.
And contribute to our well-being.
Okay, so that brings us to, I think, another really important point, which is the power of saying no.
Yes.
Which seems so simple, but I think so many of us really struggle with this.
I know.
Why is that?
Well, I think we're conditioned to try to please people.
Yeah.
We're conditioned to avoid conflict. We want to be seen as helpful, agreeable.
Right.
But every time we say yes to something, we're implicitly saying no to something else.
Oh, that's a good point.
Our time and energy are their finite resources.
It's like those care coins.
Yeah, it is.
Like every yes is a no to something else.
Exactly.
So saying no is almost like an act of protecting those resources.
Yes.
Right.
It's about setting boundaries, right, for ourselves and others, being clear about what we're willing to commit to,
right,
what we're not. And it's not selfish.
Right.
It's about respecting your own needs and limitations.
Yeah, and I think it's about communicating those needs clearly and honestly.
Yes.
And not, over-explaining or apologizing, just like a simple.
Yeah.
I'm not able to do that right now.
Right, or thank you for thinking of me, but I'll have to pass.
Yeah.
So simple.
It takes practice. Practice.
I bet.
Especially when we're used to people pleasing. But the more we do it, the easier it gets.
And this kind of, I guess, connects to this idea of the hedonic treadmill.
Which sounds way more complicated than it is.
It does.
It's basically just the idea that we're always chasing after external things.
Yeah.
Thinking they're going to make us happy.
It's like running on a treadmill.
Mm-hmm.
You're putting in all this effort, but you're not really going anywhere.
Right.
You get a little temporary boost from a new purchase or a promotion,
Yeah.
but it fades really quickly, and then we're right back to chasing the next thing.
And I feel like this is especially bad with social media where you're constantly bombarded with
Oh, it's
like
terrible.
everyone else's highlight reel.
Yeah, it's curated versions of people's lives.
Right.
And then we feel inadequate.
Right.
We're always falling short.
It reinforces this idea that we're not enough
Yeah.
unless we're constantly striving and achieving.
Yeah, accumulating more.
Right. But true happiness doesn't come from that external validation.
Right.
Right, or those material possessions.
Yeah.
It comes from within.
It does, yeah. So it's almost like we have to shift our focus
Yeah.
from what we lack to what we have.
Yes.
Right.
And I think it's about appreciating the simple things. Nurturing meaningful relationships.
Yeah.
Finding joy in the present moment.
Yeah.
Rather than always yearning for something more.
Right. And this kind of, I guess, leads into another concept that can be a little, it can be a little intimidating to think about, but it can also be strangely motivating, which is the awareness of our own mortality.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I know it sounds a little morbid.
It does.
But it's not about like dwelling on death or being afraid of it.
Right.
It's about using that awareness of our finite time as a catalyst for living more fully.
It's a powerful reminder that our time is precious.
Yeah.
It can motivate us to make the most of each day, to really prioritize those relationships,
Yeah.
to chase those dreams,
Yeah.
to not put things off. And it's not about like throwing caution to the wind or being reckless.
Yo.
It's about approaching life with a sense of urgency, but also with intention.
Yes.
Knowing that our time is limited,
Yeah.
it can help us like let go of the small stuff and focus on what truly matters.
Exactly. It's about living with a sense of purpose. Recognizing that each day is a gift.
Yeah.
And choosing to spend that gift wisely. And this brings us to the idea of choosing your struggles.
Okay.
It might sound counterintuitive, but life will always present us with challenges.
Right.
We can't avoid them entirely.
So it's not about like avoiding struggles altogether.
Right.
It's about being selective about the ones we're willing to face.
Yes.
The ones that we're willing to invest our energy in.
It's like choosing a pet, right? Every pet requires care.
Okay.
And it comes with challenges. You wouldn't get a dog if you didn't want to walk it.
Right.
Right? You wouldn't get a cat if you didn't want to clean the litter box.
Yeah. So in life it's about identifying like what are we truly passionate about?
Yeah.
Like what are we willing to put in the effort for?
Yeah.
And then embracing the inherent challenges that come along with that.
Exactly.
With pursuing those passions.
And often it's those challenges, it's those struggles that actually make the journey meaningful.
Totally.
And the rewards that much sweeter. It's in the overcoming, the pushing through.
Right.
That we discover our true strength.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes the key to achieving like what we really desire.
Yeah.
Is to stop chasing it so hard.
That's true.
Does that make sense?
It does. It's like the backwards law, right?
Yeah, the backwards law.
The more we try to force something, the more it eludes us.
Right. It's like when you're trying to open a jar and you're gripping it so tight.
Yeah.
It's just stuck. But then you like loosen your grip.
It opens. Yeah.
And it opens easily.
Right.
So the backwards law is saying sometimes the key is to just, like, let go a little bit.
Yeah, surrender to the process.
Right.
Focus on the journey, not the destination.
Like, what is it? What you resist persists.
Yes.
Or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
when we can loosen our grip, allow things to unfold naturally,
Yeah.
we often find that what we were chasing comes to us more easily.
It does. It does. It's a paradoxical concept.
It is.
But it highlights the importance of understanding context. Like the bigger picture
Yeah.
in which our experiences are unfolding.
Context is everything.
It is. It is.
Like, if you think about it like a movie, like, if you only see one scene,
Yeah.
you might completely misunderstand the entire story.
Right.
You need the full picture to understand what's going on.
Exactly.
You need to understand the character's motivations, all the nuances.
What if you see someone cut you off in traffic?
Yeah.
You're like, what a jerk!
Right. Road rage.
Right, but then you find out later that they were rushing someone to the hospital.
Oh.
Like, the context changes your entire perception.
It does. Wow.
Of the situation.
So it's about like realizing that things aren't always black and white.
Right.
Right. There's a lot of gray area, there's multiple perspectives.
There is.
And understanding the context can lead to more empathy and compassion.
Exactly. It's about challenging those initial judgments.
Right.
And recognizing that our perception is often limited. We don't always have all the information.
Yeah.
And so understanding the context can shift our interpretation of events.
That's a great point. So, and I guess this also ties into rejecting that black and white thinking.
Yes.
Which I think a lot of us get trapped in. It can keep us stuck in these, like, rigid patterns of judgment.
It does.
It prevents us from seeing those nuances.
And I think it leads us to be overly critical of ourselves and others.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, when we only see things in terms of, good or bad, right or wrong, success or failure, we miss out on the richness. Life is full of gray areas.
Totally.
And it's often in those gray areas that we find, the most profound lessons and opportunities for growth.
So it's about embracing nuance.
Yeah.
Being willing to challenge our assumptions.
Yeah.
Recognizing that our initial perceptions are often, limited.
Yeah.
Incomplete.
It's about choosing curiosity over judgment.
I love that.
Yeah.
Choosing curiosity over judgment. And this kind of leads to, I think, a greater acceptance of imperfection.
Yes.
Right?
It does. It does.
Both in ourselves and others.
Yeah, we live in a culture that glorifies perfection.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. It's like we're all supposed to be perfect all the time.
And it sets us up for disappointment.
Yeah, it's like chasing a mirage.
Yeah.
It always seems just out of reach.
It does.
In the process of chasing it, we miss out on, the beauty and the joy of right now.
Exactly. And I think about social media, we're just constantly bombarded with these images of seemingly perfect lives.
Right. And it's important to remember that we're only seeing a carefully curated snapshot. Right.
Yeah.
We're not seeing the full picture.
It's like comparing your blooper reel to someone else's highlight reel.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not a fair comparison.
It's not a fair comparison at all.
So I think it's crucial to remember that everyone has flaws. Everyone makes mistakes.
Yeah.
Everyone experiences setbacks.
Yeah.
That's part of being human.
Yeah, and it's those imperfections.
Yes.
Right. It's those quirks, it's those vulnerabilities that make us unique and relatable and interesting.
Absolutely. They're part of what makes us us.
Right. And embracing imperfection doesn't mean that we're not striving for self-improvement
Right.
or trying to be better.
Doesn't mean we're giving up.
Yeah.
It means accepting that we're all works in progress, and that's okay.
It's about being kind to ourselves, recognizing that mistakes are just opportunities to learn,
Yeah.
and focusing on progress, not perfection. It's about, I guess, shifting from self-criticism to self-compassion.
And extending that same compassion to others, right?
Totally.
Recognizing that everyone is doing the best they can.
Yeah.
We're all navigating this complex journey called life.
Yeah.
We're all going to stumble along the way.
Right. So it's about creating a world where we can all feel safe
Yeah.
to be ourselves, imperfections and all, without judgment, without shame. And I think it's about recognizing that true beauty doesn't come from being flawless.
It doesn't.
It comes from that authenticity, right?
Yeah.
And the courage to just be, fully who we are, even when it's messy
Yes.
and imperfect.
It's about recognizing that our worth doesn't come from external achievements.
Right.
Or the pursuit of perfection. Right.
It comes from our inherent value as human beings.
Yeah.
And that inherent value
Yeah.
is not dependent on our accomplishments or, our possessions.
Right.
Or even how we look.
Totally. It's about embracing the wholeness of who we are.
It is.
Right.
Yeah.
The light and the shadow, the strengths, the weaknesses, the good times, the bad times.
Yeah, all of it.
All of it.
It's about understanding that true happiness comes not from chasing some unattainable ideal,
right,
but from cultivating inner peace,
right,
from practicing self-compassion,
right,
from finding joy in the present moment exactly as it is.
Yeah, and it's about shifting our focus from, what we lack to what we have.
Yeah.
From comparing ourselves to others to, really appreciating our own unique journey.
Exactly.
Letting go of the need to control everything and just surrendering to the flow of life.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
I like that. And I think, this brings us to something that I think is really interesting, which is this idea that even achieving our goals and dreams can actually come with its own set of challenges.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
It's like, if you're climbing a mountain.
Yeah.
You spend so much time focused on reaching the summit, but then you get there.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not what you thought it was going to be.
Right.
Maybe it's cold and lonely at the top.
Exactly. And sometimes success brings with it, these unexpected pressures.
Right.
Like the pressure to maintain that success, the fear of losing it.
Right.
And relationships can change,
Oh, totally.
People react to our newfound status differently.
Right.
So it's interesting, and it can lead to a sense of emptiness.
Mm-hmm.
If we've tied our entire self-worth to the achievement itself rather than the journey.
It's like we've reached the destination, but then we're like, okay, what now?
Exactly. And so I think it's important to remember that success is not a destination.
Right.
It's a journey. It's part of life's ongoing journey.
The part of the process.
Yeah, it's about finding balance,
Right.
Staying grounded and remembering what truly matters to us.
Right.
Even amidst those accolades and achievements.
Yeah. And it can also lead to, I guess, like a fear of failure then.
Right.
Right. If you achieve success, you're kind of like scared to take risks.
Yeah, because you don't want to lose what you've gained.
Yeah, you want to play it safe.
Yeah.
And that brings us to, I think, another interesting idea, which is
Yeah.
Manson's law of avoidance. Have you heard of this?
I have, yeah.
So it basically states that, like,
Well, essentially, the more we fear something, the more we try to avoid it,
right,
right? But the more we avoid it,
yeah,
the scarier and more uncomfortable it becomes.
like that snowball effect,
It
right?
is. It is. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger,
Yeah,
more intimidating.
yeah. So if you're terrified of public speaking, let's say,
Right.
the more you avoid it,
Yeah.
the more daunting it seems.
You imagine the worst case scenarios.
Right.
Your anxiety just grows and
It's
grows.
easier to just stay silent.
Exactly.
Right.
Right.
But what if you just face that fear head on?
Yeah, yeah. What if you took a public speaking class?
Right. Yeah.
What if you volunteered to give a presentation at work?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times we find out that the things we fear
Yeah.
aren't as bad as we make them out to be in our heads.
That's right. And the act of facing them,
right.
of pushing through that initial discomfort
Yeah.
can be so empowering.
Yeah. So it's not about being reckless
Right.
or putting ourselves in danger, but it's about recognizing that avoidance
Yes.
just strengthens that fear
It does.
while actually confronting it, even in small ways,
Yeah.
can help us overcome it and build resilience.
Exactly. It's about taking control of our fears rather than letting them control us.
And so I guess that brings us to this realization that
Yeah.
we have a choice in what we care about,
Yeah.
what we focus on,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Like what we allow to shape our experiences.
It's about recognizing that we have the power to choose our struggles, you know?
Wow, that's really powerful.
To direct our attention to curate, our mental and emotional landscape.
Yeah.
It's about taking ownership of your inner world
Mm-hmm.
and making conscious choices about what you allow to take up space there.
And it's about remembering that even though life will always present us with challenges,
Yeah.
we have the power to choose how we respond to those challenges.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Maybe.
We learn from them and how we allow them to shape us.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we can choose to focus on the positive, to cultivate gratitude, to find meaning
Yeah.
and purpose even amidst adversity.
That's such an empowering message.
It is.
It's not about pretending like everything's always rosy,
Yeah.
but it's about recognizing that we have the inner strength
Yeah.
to navigate the inevitable ups and downs of life.
Exactly. And a key part of that is rejecting this notion that we're entitled to anything.
Oh, interesting.
Just because we exist. The world doesn't owe us anything. We got to earn it.
Right.
And I think, that can be a tough pill to swallow.
It can.
Especially in a culture that often promotes this sense of
Right.
instant gratification.
We want it all, and we want it now.
Right.
But there's something really powerful about recognizing that.
Yeah, there is.
We got to put in the work.
Yeah.
We have to make an effort to earn the things that we want.
It shifts you from a passive mindset to a more active mindset of creating the life that you want.
Yeah, it's like the difference between ordering takeout and cooking a meal.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
Like, takeout's great. It's convenient.
Sure.
But there's something so satisfying about creating something with your own hands.
Exactly.
And it's not just about
the process of learning and growing and developing our skills and our abilities.
Right.
It's about that sense of agency, that comes from knowing that you have the power to shape your own life.
So how do we put this rejection of entitlement into practice. Like,
Yeah.
it feels like it's got to be more than just a mental shift, right?
It is.
Like,
Yeah.
what does that actually look like?
It's about taking action.
Okay.
It's about putting in the effort.
Okay.
It's about being willing to work for the things that you want.
Okay.
It's about embracing the do something principle.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Tell me more about this do something principle.
It's actually so simple,
Okay.
but it's so effective. It's the idea that we don't have to wait for motivation to strike
Oh, okay.
before we take action.
Interesting.
In fact, action often precedes motivation.
So instead of waiting for, like, the perfect moment,
Yeah.
or, like, the perfect feeling, we just start doing
And
it.
just start.
Okay.
Even if it's a small step, even if it feels insignificant, taking action creates momentum.
Okay.
And then that momentum fuels your motivation,
Got it.
which then leads to more action.
It's like that saying, like, a journey of 1,000 miles
Yes,
begins with a single step.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it applies to all areas of life.
Yeah.
You don't feel like cleaning the house. Just start with one small task.
Okay.
Maybe load the dishwasher. Make your bed.
Okay.
And once you've started,
Yeah.
it's often easier to just keep going.
Yeah, totally. And this applies to, like, bigger picture stuff too, right?
Hey, absolutely.
Like, if you want to write a book,
Yeah.
don't wait for inspiration. Just sit down and write a page.
Exactly. Even if it's just a paragraph,
Yeah.
The act of writing itself
Yeah.
can spark ideas and motivation.
So the key is to just start.
Just start.
Take that first step and trust that the momentum will come.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's really helpful.
Good.
I like that. That's a really good takeaway. And this is closely linked to, I think, another important concept, which is the importance of setting boundaries.
Yes. Yes.
Now, we talked about earlier, like, the power of saying no, but boundaries are, like, I feel like they go beyond that, right?
They do, yeah.
It's not just saying no to, like, specific requests or demands.
Right. Boundaries are about creating clear lines,
Okay.
between ourselves and others.
Okay.
About defining what we're willing to tolerate and what we're not. It's about protecting our space.
Our physical space.
Yeah. Physical, emotional, mental.
Okay.
All of it.
So it's almost like having a fence around your property.
Yeah. I like that.
Like, it defines where your space begins and ends.
Yeah.
And let other people know.
All
Like,
right.
this is what you can and cannot do within those boundaries.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And just like a physical fence, boundaries can be flexible. Right. You might have different boundaries.
Right.
With different people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Closer boundaries with people you're closer with.
Yeah. Closer boundaries with loved ones. Firmer boundaries, maybe with acquaintances, colleagues.
And boundaries aren't about being mean.
No.
Or controlling.
No, not at all.
They're about respecting ourselves and our needs.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And communicating those needs to others.
Clearly.
Yeah.
And honestly.
So when we have strong boundaries, we're better able to protect our energy, our time.
Yes.
Our emotional well-being.
Yeah. We're less likely to get drained.
Yeah.
By other people's demand.
Right.
Or negativity. And we're better able to focus on the things that truly matter to us.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, okay, how do we actually, like, go about setting boundaries?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Like, it feels like it can be, like, kind of a tricky conversation.
It can be. It can be.
Especially with people that we're close with.
Yeah, It's a skill that definitely takes practice.
Right.
But I think there are some key principles
Okay,
to keep in mind.
Okay.
So first, be clear about what your boundaries actually are.
Okay.
Like, what are you willing to tolerate?
Yeah.
What are your non-negotiables?
And this requires a bit of self-reflection, right?
It does, yeah.
Like, you got to get clear on, like,
yeah, you gotta know yourself.
our own needs and limits before we can communicate them to others.
You gotta know yourself before you can let other people know.
Exactly, yeah. Okay, so once you have a good understanding
Yeah.
of your boundaries,
Yeah.
the next step is to actually communicate those boundaries.
Yes. Clearly and assertively.
Assertively, and that doesn't mean...
Doesn't mean aggressive.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
being a jerk about it.
Right.
Right.
Means being direct, honest, respectful.
Yeah, so for example, like...
Yeah. You might say something like, I appreciate you asking me to help with this project, but I'm feeling overwhelmed right now and I need to prioritize my own work.
Right. Or, I love spending time with you, but I need some quiet time this evening to recharge.
Exactly. It's about setting those clear expectations.
Right.
And letting people know what you are and are not available for.
Yeah, and it's important to remember, I think, that setting boundaries is an ongoing process.
It is.
Right. Our needs and limits might change over time.
They will.
It's okay to adjust those boundaries.
Yeah, be flexible.
And sometimes setting boundaries might mean having, difficult conversations.
Hey, well, yeah.
With people who are used to getting their way or who might push back.
Yes.
But I think the important thing to remember is that setting boundaries is a form of self-care.
It is.
It's about protecting our well-being.
Yes.
And it's about ensuring that we're able to, show up for the things that matter most to us.
The people that matter most to us.
The people that matter.
Exactly, yeah. And I think it's, it's about creating those healthy, balanced relationships where everyone's needs are respected.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, and this connects to this idea of reframing our values.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I love that phrase. It's like hitting the refresh button.
Yeah, they like that.
On our internal compass.
Yeah, making sure it's still pointing you in the right direction.
So I guess we all have values, even if we don't always think about them.
Yeah, we do.
Right. They're the things that, guide our actions. The things we believe in, the qualities we admire.
Yeah, they're the principles.
But sometimes we might be living by values that we've, inherited or adopted.
Yeah.
Without really, examining if they actually fit for us anymore.
Right. It's like wearing clothes.
Oh, well.
That don't fit anymore.
I like that.
They might have looked great on you in the past.
Right.
But they're not serving you anymore.
So reframing our values is about, taking inventory.
Yes.
Of what we truly believe in.
Yes.
What matters most to us.
Yeah, asking those tough questions.
Okay, what are those tough questions?
What do I stand for? What am I willing to fight for? What legacy do I want to leave behind?
Wow, those are some tough questions. And be honest with ourselves, even if it's,
even if it's hard.
Even if it's uncomfortable. Even if it's, challenges things we've always believed.
Yeah.
Or expectations from people around us.
Yeah, exactly. And once we've, clarified those values,
right,
we can use them as a guide.
Okay.
For our decision making.
Both big and small.
Both big and small.
Okay.
It's like having a set of guidelines,
yeah.
To help you navigate
the complexities of life.
The complexities of life, exactly.
It's like a framework.
Yeah.
For making choices that are, in line with
Yeah, that align.
our truest selves.
Yeah, your deepest self.
And I feel like that leads to, like, a greater sense of purpose.
It does.
Right.
Like that feeling that our lives are meaningful.
Yeah, you feel like your actions are contributing
Yeah.
to something greater than yourself.
Yeah, totally. And it's a journey, right?
It is.
It's not like a one-time thing.
No. It's ongoing.
It's ongoing.
And our values might evolve,
Right.
as we grow and change.
So it's about continually checking in.
Yes.
Making sure our actions are still aligned.
Yes.
With our evolving beliefs and priorities.
Yeah. And speaking of, like, adjusting our course.
Yeah.
I think it's important to address this common misconception that happiness is about constantly feeling good.
Okay.
And avoiding all negative emotions.
Okay. So it's not about, like, being happy all the time.
No. We often confuse pleasure with happiness.
Okay.
And we chase after, those quick hits of dopamine.
Right.
Without realizing that true happiness is something deeper.
Okay.
It's more enduring.
It's not about avoiding discomfort or pretending that everything's always okay.
Right.
It's about learning to navigate life's ups and downs with grace and resilience.
So true happiness is not about avoiding the negative.
No.
It's about, like, learning how to be okay with the negative.
It's about acknowledging those emotions.
Okay.
Allowing yourself to feel them fully.
Yeah.
And then choosing how you want to respond to them.
And this is something I think a lot of us struggle with.
We do.
Because we're so, like...
We're conditioned to
avoid it.
Push it away, yeah.
So it's about being present in the moment.
Yes.
Without judgment.
Yes.
Without resistance.
Recognizing that both the good and the bad, the light and the shadow, are essential parts of the human experience.
They are.
They are.
Okay, so we need to, like, embrace both the good and the bad.
Yeah, the wholeness of who we are.
Yeah.
With all of our imperfections, our complexities.
Okay. And this leads to, I think, another interesting concept, which is maturity as a metric.
Okay.
Now, we often think of maturity as something that, comes with age.
We do, yeah.
Right. Like, the older you are, the more mature you are.
Right.
But I think it's more about, like, how we respond to life's challenges. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Maturity is not about avoiding those difficult emotions.
Right.
Or pretending that everything is always okay.
Yeah.
It's about how we navigate those challenges, how we learn from them.
Right.
And how we use them to grow.
So a mature person isn't someone who just never makes mistakes.
Right.
Or never experiences, like, negative things.
No, a mature person is someone who owns their mistakes.
Right.
Takes responsibility for their actions.
Yeah.
Uses setbacks as opportunities to learn and grow.
Yeah.
It's about being accountable, to yourself and to others.
Yeah. Okay, and it's also about, I think, developing emotional intelligence. Right.
Yeah.
The ability to, like, understand and manage our own emotions.
Yes.
And to, like, empathize with others.
Yes.
So maturity is really a measure of our emotional resilience.
Yeah. It is.
Our capacity to handle life's ups and downs.
Yeah, with grace and wisdom.
It's about learning to, like...
ride the waves.
Yeah, ride the wave.
Rather than getting swept away by them.
Yeah, I like that. So it's a lifelong process, right?
It is.
It's not like you just wake up one day and you're like, I'm mature.
Yeah.
it's a journey.
Yeah, it's an ongoing journey
It's a journey.
of growth and self-discovery.
It is. And it's a journey that requires us to, like, really be honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? Confront our shadows.
Our shadows, yeah, and embrace the full complexity of who we are.
Yeah. I like that. It feels like we've covered so much ground already. But I feel like one thing that keeps coming up for me is this whole idea of learning to, like, not care.
Yeah.
Not in, like, a callous way.
Right.
Not being apathetic.
Yeah.
But, like, in a way that allows us to protect our energy.
Yes.
And focus on what truly matters.
I think that's such an important point. It's about being more discerning with our attention. Recognizing that we can't care deeply about everything.
Yeah.
And if we try to, that's just a recipe for overwhelm and burnout.
Yeah, it's like, what's that saying? You can't set yourself on fire to keep others warm.
Yeah, that's a good one.
We got to prioritize our own well-being.
Yes, we do.
We are not just, like, depleting our own reserves, trying to constantly please other people or fix their problems.
It's about recognizing our own limitations.
Yeah.
And accepting that we can't be everything to everyone.
Right.
It's about setting those healthy boundaries and saying no to things that drain our energy.
Right. And so sometimes not caring means, like, letting go of the need to control everything.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Accepting that we can't control other people's actions or reactions.
Right.
And that sometimes the best thing we can do is, like, just let go and allow things to unfold naturally.
It's about surrendering to the present moment. Trusting that everything is happening exactly as it should.
And I feel like that could be a really challenging thing.
It is.
Especially in a world that's so, like, obsessed with control.
Yes.
And, achievement and striving. But what if letting go actually opened us up to, like, greater possibilities?
Yeah.
Greater peace, greater joy? What if it allowed us to, like, actually experience life more fully?
I think it absolutely can. It's about shifting our focus from trying to force things to happen.
Right.
To allowing things to just unfold organically.
It's recognizing that we don't always have to have all the answers.
Right.
We don't have to have a plan.
Right.
And sometimes, like, the most beautiful things happen when we just, like, trust the process.
Trust the process?
Yeah.
And allow ourselves to be guided by our intuition.
Yeah. So to wrap things up, I just want to leave you with a few questions to ponder. What are you choosing to care about? What are you willing to let go of? And how can you embrace the art of not caring in a way that empowers you to live a more intentional, authentic, and joyful life?
And for a little musical inspiration on this journey of letting go, embracing the unknown, I highly recommend checking out the song Way to Redemption by Dozer.
Yeah, it's a great song. And thanks for joining us on this exploration. Until next time, remember to be kind to yourself, embrace the journey, and never stop learning and growing.